The sound of clinking champagne glasses should have meant celebration, but that night, it was the sound of something breaking inside me. My parents stood in their perfect kitchen, smiling, their glasses raised. "Finally, she'll match her worth," my father said. I froze. Upstairs, my 6-year-old daughter Lily was asleep, still wearing her unicorn pajamas. "She's just a child," I cried. "You could have told me. I wouldn't have brought her." My mother's laughter was sharp, cruel. What fun would that be? I wanted everyone to know only my real grandchild matters. I ran, my heart pounding, and when I reached Lily's room, I saw blood on her pillow. Her tiny face was swollen, unrecognizable. My knees buckled. I screamed her name, but she didn't move. As I called 911, one thought burned through the horror. They didn't just break my child, they awakened something in me. It was supposed to be a weekend of laughter, balloons, and family photos. My brother David's daughter, Madison, was turning 7, and my parents had invited us all to their estate in Connecticut for the celebration. I almost said no. Deep down, I knew what it would be like: the forced smiles, the judgment, the endless comparisons between my life and David's. But Lily had never been to one of Madison's parties, and she'd begged me to go, so I gave in. The house looked like something out of a magazine: white pillars, trimmed hedges, everything polished to perfection. My parents greeted us with their usual detached warmth. "Emily," my father said, giving me a brief hug that felt more like an obligation. "Still working at the library?" "Yes," I said softly. He exchanged a glance with my mother, the kind that said you could have done better. My mother crouched slightly, pretending affection toward Lily. "Oh, look at you," she said in that sing-song tone she used when she wanted to sound nice. "You've grown thinner." "She's healthy, Mom," I replied, forcing a smile. "She's fine." Her eyes flicked over Lily's yellow dress, the one with unicorn prints. "You let her wear that to a party?" The old shame rose in me, the same shame I'd carried since childhood, never polished enough, never perfect enough for Patricia Miller's standards. I brushed it off, focusing on Lily, who was looking around curiously, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Grandma's house is so big," she whispered. "Yeah, sweetheart," I said. "But don't run too far, okay?" Inside, David and his wife, Karen, were already arranging the cake table. Madison ran up, squealing, her pink dress sparkling under the chandelier. "Hi, Aunt Emily," she chirped before turning to Lily. "You can sit by me later, but don't touch the cake before the pictures." Lily nodded politely, shy as always. After the long drive, she began rubbing her eyes. "Mommy, I'm sleepy." "You can nap upstairs, honey," I said, leading her to the guest room, the same room I'd stayed in as a girl, with its lace curtains and smell of lemon polish. I tucked her in, kissed her forehead and whispered, "Rest for a bit. The party will start soon." When I came back downstairs, my parents were in the kitchen, pouring champagne. The air felt off, too quiet, too rehearsed. Then came the sound, the crisp clink of glass against glass. My father's voice followed, calm and satisfied. "Finally, she'll match her worth." For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. Then my mother laughed, a sharp, delighted sound that made my skin crawl. "What do you mean?" I asked, stepping closer. They didn't answer. They just smiled. That's when something in my chest tightened, a mother's instinct, loud and undeniable. I didn't wait for permission. I turned and ran upstairs. I took the stairs 2 at a time, my heart pounding so hard it drowned out every sound in the house. The door to the guest room was closed. My fingers trembled as I turned the knob. "Lily," my voice cracked. "Sweetheart, it's Mommy." She didn't answer. The curtains were half drawn, sunlight spilling across the bed. For a split second, everything looked normal: her unicorn pajamas, her stuffed rabbit under one arm. But when I stepped closer, the light shifted, and I saw it. Blood. It was on the pillow, smeared across her cheek, and pooling near her nose. Her tiny face, so perfect, so delicate, was swollen beyond recognition. Both eyes were nearly shut, her lips split open, purple bruises blooming across her forehead and jaw. "Lily!" I screamed, dropping to my knees. "Oh God, Lily, wake up!" Her body was limp, No response. I could barely feel her shallow breaths. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and dialed 911, the numbers blurring through tears. 911. What's your emergency? My daughter, she's bleeding. She's not waking up. Please, hurry. Is she breathing? Yes, but barely. Please, just send someone. I scooped her into my arms, ignoring the blood soaking through my blouse. As I stumbled downstairs, my parents appeared in the hallway, startled but not horrified like they'd been caught in the middle of something they didn't regret. What happened? My brother David shouted from the doorway, his wife Karen behind him, holding Madison's hand. They did this, I screamed, pointing at my parents, my voice raw. They hurt her while she was sleeping. That's absurd, my father said, but his voice wavered. You must have left a window open. She probably fell. Fell, I shouted. Her face is destroyed. Karen already had her phone out, dialing 911 again, confirming the ambulance was on its way. Madison started crying, clutching her mother's leg. My mother actually sighed, and said in that icy tone I'd known my whole life, "You always make such a scene, Emily." I turned to her, trembling with rage. She's 6 years old. 6! You could have told me if you didn't want her here. What fun would that be? She sneered. I wanted everyone to see that only my real grandchild matters. She gestured toward Madison. That little girl you had with that failure of an ex-husband, she's nothing but a mistake. Something inside me snapped. I lunged at her, every instinct screaming to make her feel the pain she'd caused. But David caught me by the shoulders, pulling me back just as the sound of sirens filled the air outside. Through the window, red and blue lights flashed across the marble floor. That was the last time my parents' house ever felt like a home, and the first moment I realized I wasn't their daughter anymore. I was their enemy. The ambulance doors slammed shut, sealing us inside a blur of sirens, cold metal, and panic. I held Lily's tiny hand as paramedics worked over her, their voices a flurry of codes and urgency. BP dropping, she's losing oxygen. Prepare airway, she's got swelling in the face. I sat frozen, staring at my child's broken face, unable to comprehend how anyone my parents could have done this. The medic touched my shoulder gently. Ma'am, we're doing everything we can. Just keep talking to her. She can still hear you. Mommy's here, baby, I whispered, brushing her hair back. You're so brave. Just stay with me. The world outside was a tunnel of flashing lights and screaming wheels. When we reached the hospital, they rushed her through the double doors. I tried to follow, but a nurse blocked me. Please, let us work. You can't be in here. I'm her mother, I screamed. We know. We'll come get you as soon as we can. I stood there, covered in Lily's blood, my arms empty, my soul hollow. Then a calm voice beside me. Emily Cooper? I turned to see a woman in uniform, Officer Rachel Martinez. Her expression was steady, professional, but her eyes were soft. I need to ask you some questions, she said. Tell me what happened tonight. I told her everything. The champagne, the words, the laughter, the look on my parents' faces. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. Rachel scribbled in her notebook. You're saying your parents assaulted your child? Yes. They admitted it, in their own way. My father said she'd finally match her worth. My mother said she wanted everyone to know only her real grandchild mattered. Rachel's pen froze mid-sentence. Did anyone else hear that? My brother and his wife. They were there when she said it again. Okay. She nodded. We'll get statements from them. Through the glass wall, I saw the medical team moving quickly around Lily's small body. 4 machines, a blur of white coats. Every time someone yelled, "Clear," my heart stopped. Then my brother David arrived, pale and shaking. How is she? I don't know, I whispered. They're still working. He swallowed hard. The police? They're talking to Mom and Dad. Karen's giving her statement. They're pretending like nothing happened, Emily. Like you made it all up. I laughed, a broken, bitter sound. Of course they are. It's what they do best. A doctor pushed through the doors, pulling off his gloves. His face was grave. She's alive, he said quietly, but in critical condition. We're moving her to surgery. I gripped the wall to keep from falling. Can I see her? He hesitated, then stepped aside. For 5 seconds, just 5, I saw her pale face under the hospital lights. I kissed her forehead and whispered, "Fight, baby. Please fight." Then they wheeled her away, and I knew my life would never be the same again. The next 48 hours crawled by like a lifetime. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I sat in that sterile waiting room with my hands clenched around Lily's stuffed rabbit, its fur stiff with dried blood. Every time a nurse walked by, my heart stopped. When the surgeon, Dr. Sarah Williams, finally came out, her blue scrubs were splattered with crimson. "She's alive," she said softly. Those 2 words cracked something open inside me. We relieved the pressure on her brain, but she's in critical condition. The next 24 hours will decide everything. Mark arrived a few hours later, his face pale, eyes hollow. My ex-husband, the man my parents despised. "I came as soon as I got your call," he said, his voice shaking. Are they the ones who did this?" I nodded, tears spilling over. "They laughed, Mark. They actually laughed." He sank into the chair beside me, gripping my hand. "Then they'll pay. I swear it." Days blurred together. Machines beeped. Nurses whispered. I counted Lily's heartbeats through the monitor, terrified each one might be her last. Officer Rachel Martinez returned with updates. "Your parents are in custody," she said. "We've charged them with aggravated assault and child abuse. Depending on your daughter's recovery, that could escalate to attempted murder." The words made me dizzy. "Attempted murder," I whispered. "My parents." I thought of childhood birthdays, of my mother baking perfect cakes, my father correcting my posture before guests arrived. All those years, I thought they were strict, but now I saw the truth control disguised as love, approval weaponized like a knife. On the 3rd night, when the machines hummed steady and quiet, I felt movement. A twitch. Then another. "Lily?" I leaned closer, hardly daring to breathe. Her tiny fingers curled weakly around mine. "Sweetheart?" My voice broke. Her eyelids fluttered open, swollen, bruised, but alive. "Mommy?" she croaked, barely a whisper. I gasped, choking back sobs. "Yes, baby. Mommy's here. You're safe. You're safe now." The nurse rushed in, checking vitals, calling for Dr. Williams. "She's responsive," she said, smiling. Lily blinked slowly, her gaze unfocused. "It hurts," she whispered. "I know, sweetheart," I said, stroking her hand. "But you're so brave. You're going to be okay." Dr. Williams entered moments later, beaming. "This is excellent progress," she said. "She's a fighter." When they stepped out, I sat by her bed, tears soaking my sleeve. Her little voice broke the silence again. "Mommy, where's Grandma and Grandpa?" I froze. The question stabbed deeper than any wound. "They're not coming, sweetheart," I said softly. They did something very bad." Her brow furrowed. "Did they hit me?" I couldn't speak. I just nodded. She reached up, touching the bandage on her cheek. "Why?" That one word nearly shattered me. "Because they're broken inside," I whispered. "But you're not. You're perfect." And in that moment, I promised her I would spend the rest of my life proving it. 3 months later, I found myself standing in a courtroom that smelled like old wood, coffee, and fear. The words, "State of Connecticut versus Robert and Patricia Miller," echoed off the marble walls like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. My parents sat at the defense table, dressed in expensive suits, their expressions calm, almost bored. They looked more like guests at a charity gala than 2 people accused of trying to murder their own grandchild. When the judge entered, everyone rose. I did too, though my knees trembled. My daughter was home, still recovering, her jaw wired shut, and her nightmares constant. I told her I was going to make things right. Their lawyer, Richard Morrison, the same man who'd defended CEOs and crooked senators, opened with an easy, practiced charm. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," he began, "this is a tragedy. Yes, but not a crime. My clients are devoted grandparents caught in a web of lies, spun by a woman with a history of instability and resentment." His gaze flicked toward me. "A woman who blames her parents for her own failures." I clenched my fists so tightly my nails cut into my palms. When it was my turn to testify, the prosecutor, Rebecca Hayes, guided me gently. "Emily, Can you tell the court what you heard in the kitchen that afternoon? I swallowed hard. My father raised his glass and said, "Finally, she'll match her worth." And what did your mother say? She said, "I wanted the whole family to know only my real grandchild matters." Rebecca nodded. And who was she referring to? Madison, I said quietly, glancing at my brother. David's daughter. The defense objected, speculative, but the judge allowed it. Rebecca continued, "What did you do next?" I ran upstairs to check on Lily. I found her unconscious, bleeding. Her face, my voice broke. Her face was destroyed. Several jurors shifted uncomfortably. One woman covered her mouth. Morrison rose for cross-examination, voice slick as oil. "Miss Cooper, isn't it true you've struggled financially since your divorce?" "Yes. And that your parents refused to support you?" "They refused to control me." I shot back. He smiled faintly. "Control? Or help? You left law school, married a mechanic, and when that fell apart, you blamed your parents. Isn't that right?" "I blamed them for trying to destroy my child," I said sharply. "Not my life. And for—" He didn't flinch. "So, in your grief, isn't it possible you imagined what you heard? That perhaps your father's comment about worth referred to something else?" "No," I said, voice steady now. "They meant exactly what I heard." Rebecca objected to his tone. The judge sustained. But the damage had been done. Morrison's words hung heavy, his intent clear, to make me seem unhinged. Then Rebecca called Dr. Sarah Williams to the stand. "These injuries," she said, pointing to enlarged photographs projected behind her, "were caused by multiple blunt impacts, not a fall, not an accident. The victim was struck at least 6 times, likely while unconscious." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. I couldn't breathe looking at those pictures, my baby's swollen, purple face under sterile lights. David testified next. His hands shook as he spoke. "I heard my mother say, 'Only my grandchild matters.' She wasn't hysterical. She was proud." Karen confirmed his words. "She said it twice." She laughed. For the first time, my mother's perfect composure cracked. She leaned toward my father, whispering something frantic. He didn't look at her. The defense brought up character witnesses, neighbors, friends, even members of their church, all praising the Millers as pillars of the community. None of them mentioned Lily. Most didn't even know she existed. Then my father himself took the stand. His performance was flawless. He spoke softly, voice trembling just enough. "We were horrified by what happened to our granddaughter," he said. "But Emily has always been dramatic. She misinterprets everything. My wife was in shock that day. I never said anything cruel about Lily." He turned to the jury, eyes glistening. "We love our family, all of them." Rebecca's cross-examination sliced through his performance. "Mr. Miller, when police arrived, you told them, and I quote, 'There's no proof we did anything. Hearsay. A hysterical mother imagining things.'" "That's correct. Why would you assume your daughter was accusing you, if you were innocent?" He hesitated. "Because she's done it before." "Accused you of violence?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Of being unfair?" Rebecca stepped closer, her voice steady. "Unfair? Or abusive?" His jaw tightened. "We were strict, that's all." Then she asked the question that shattered everything. "Did you tell your daughter, moments before she found her child beaten, finally, she'll match her worth?" The courtroom went silent. My father's lawyer whispered, "Don't answer." But Robert Miller looked straight at me and smirked. "I said it," he admitted. "But it was sarcasm. You people twist everything." Gasps. A murmur spread across the room. Even the judge looked stunned. Rebecca seized the moment. "Ladies and gentlemen, that wasn't sarcasm. That was confession." My father's smirk vanished as the courtroom erupted in whispers. For the first time since that horrible night, I felt a flicker of something that wasn't fear, it was power. When I left the stand, my legs were shaking, but my heart was steady. I had faced them. I had spoken every truth they'd spent a lifetime burying. And as I passed my mother, she whispered something that sent chills down my spine. "You'll regret this, Emily." And I leaned closer, meeting her dead eyes. "No, Mom," I said quietly. "You will." The next morning, the headlines read, "Respected Couple accused of beating daughter's testimony shocks court. The world finally saw them for what they really were, not loving grandparents, not community icons, but monsters in designer suits. The verdict came on a Thursday afternoon. I hadn't slept in 2 nights. My stomach churned every time I imagined the jury's faces, their whispered deliberations behind those closed doors. When the bailiff finally said, "All rise," my knees almost gave out. My parents were let in, wrists cuffed, still wearing the same expressions they'd worn their entire lives, cold, composed, superior. Even in chains, they looked like they thought they'd win. The judge glanced at the foreman. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" "Yes, Your Honor." My heart hammered as the foreman stood, a sheet of paper trembling in his hands. In the case of the state of Connecticut versus Robert and Patricia Miller, on the count of attempted murder, we find the defendants guilty. On the count of aggravated assault, guilty. On the count of child abuse, guilty. The room exploded, gasps, muffled cries, camera shutters clicking. I felt everything and nothing at once. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I couldn't move. My mother let out a piercing scream, lunging toward the bench before officers restrained her. My father sat rigid, staring straight ahead, his face pale and unreadable. For the first time, the mask had cracked beneath it was nothing but emptiness. The judge's voice cut through the chaos. "This court finds your actions not only criminal, but morally reprehensible. You betrayed the most sacred trust, the safety of a child. Your cruelty was deliberate, calculated, and beyond comprehension." She turned to me. "Mrs. Cooper, your courage ensured justice was served today." That was when my legs gave out. Rebecca caught me before I hit the floor. "It's over," she whispered. "You did it." But it didn't feel over. As they read the sentences, 25 years for Robert Miller, 20 for Patricia Miller, I looked at them one last time. My mother was sobbing, still screaming that she didn't mean it. My father simply muttered, "This family was weak before you ruined it." The bailiffs led them away, their chains clinking in rhythm. The same metallic sound echoed faintly in my memory, the sound of their champagne glasses that night. The sound that started it all. Reporters swarmed outside the courthouse, their microphones thrust forward like weapons. "Emily, do you have a statement? Do you forgive your parents?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Forgiveness wasn't even in the same universe as what they'd done. Mark was waiting near the steps, his eyes glassy. "You did it," he said softly. "They'll never hurt her again." I looked up at the gray sky, the clouds swirling like smoke. "Yeah," I whispered, "but justice doesn't heal a child's face." He nodded, pulling me into a hug. For the first time in months, I let myself cry, not the sharp, choking sobs of grief, but the deep, shaking kind that come when the war is finally over. That night, I sat by Lily's bed, watching her sleep. The bruises had faded to pale yellow, and her breathing was steady. Her hand curled loosely around her stuffed rabbit. I whispered, "It's done, baby. They can't hurt you anymore." She stirred in her sleep, mumbling, "Mommy?" "I'm here," I said. "Always." The next morning, sunlight filled her room for the first time since the attack. I stood there quietly, realizing something that hurt and healed at once. Justice had been served. But peace? Peace would take longer. And maybe that was okay, because now, for the first time, we had time. The months that followed the verdict felt like stepping through the ruins of a war I hadn't realized was still burning. Justice had been served. Yes, but every day, I woke up to the reminder that some wounds don't fade with a gavel's echo. Lily's recovery was a slow, fragile miracle. Her jaw was still wired shut, so she spoke through tiny notes scribbled on pink paper or soft hums against my shoulder. Her left eye had permanent nerve damage, and she flinched every time someone raised a hand too quickly. Even hugs made her tense at first. Her therapist, Dr. Rachel Martinez, worked wonders. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we sat in a soft-lit office filled with toys and books, and Rachel helped Lily build her courage back piece by piece. "Children are resilient," she told me once after a session, "but she needs to feel safe again. Consistency, love, and patience, those will heal her more than any medicine." Safe. That word haunted me, because the people who were supposed to make me feel safe, my own parents, had been the ones who destroyed it. I started therapy too. Rachel insisted on it. Trauma runs in families, Emily, she said gently. If you don't process this, the fear will shape how you love her. She was right. Some nights, I'd wake up gasping from nightmares, seeing flashes of blood, hearing the sharp clink of champagne glasses. Sometimes I'd walk into Lily's room just to make sure she was breathing. She'd open her eyes, groggy, and whisper, "I'm okay, Mommy." Mark stayed close through it all. Not as my husband, that chapter was over, but as a partner in survival. He took time off work to help with therapy visits, doctor appointments, even school drop-offs. One night, after putting Lily to bed, he said quietly, "You know, she looks at you like you're the safest place in the world." I smiled weakly. "I just wish I'd protected her sooner." "You did," he said. "Maybe not in time to stop the pain, but you never stopped fighting for her. That's what she'll remember." My brother David called often too. He'd cut all contact with our parents after the trial. Madison even sent Lily handmade cards. "I'm sorry, cousin. I hope your face feels better soon." Those simple words made Lily smile for the first time in months. Financially, things were hard. Hospital bills, therapy, and missed work piled up fast. But the restitution order from the court finally came through. My parents' assets, the mansion, the cars, the investment accounts were seized and liquidated. Every cent went into Lily's recovery and her future. I didn't want their money, but I took it for her. One day, while folding laundry, I found Lily's old drawing tucked in a pile of books. 2 stick figures, one big, one small, holding hands under a bright Sunday. Above it, in shaky letters, she'd written, "Me and Mommy are safe now." I sank to the floor, holding that paper against my chest, and sobbed. It wasn't the kind of cry that came from pain, this time it was release. Because she was right. For the first time in my life, we were safe. And safety, real, unconditional safety, was something no verdict could ever give, but love could rebuild. Piece by fragile piece, that's exactly what we were doing. 2 years passed before I realized how far we'd come. The scars on Lily's face had softened into faint silver lines, the kind you had to look closely to see. Her laugh had returned lighter now, unguarded though sometimes. When thunder rolled at night, she still crept into my room clutching her stuffed rabbit. We'd moved to a small house by the lake, far from Connecticut and the ghosts it held. Mornings smelled of pancakes and lavender instead of antiseptic. On the good days, I could almost forget that I'd once watched my parents led away in handcuffs. Almost. One afternoon, Lily's 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Peterson, called me in for a conference. I felt that familiar knot of worry in my chest. "Is she okay?" I asked the moment I walked in. Mrs. Peterson smiled and handed me a sheet of lined notebook paper. "She's more than okay. I just wanted you to see this." Across the top, written in Lily's careful handwriting, were the words, "My hero." My mom is my hero because she never gave up. When bad people hurt me, she made sure they couldn't anymore. She reads to me when I have bad dreams. She tells me I'm brave, even when I feel small. I want to be like her when I grow up, kind and strong and safe. The words blurred as tears filled my eyes. I had spent years wondering if my daughter would remember the horror of that night, if she'd forever see herself as the broken child, lying bloodied on a pillow. But this was what she remembered. Love, not pain. Mrs. Peterson placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "You should be proud, Emily. She's one of the kindest kids I've ever taught. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Driving home, the world felt different, softer, somehow. I parked by the lake, stepped out, and let the wind brush across my face. The sunlight danced over the water, bright and forgiving. At home, Lily was on the porch painting, her tongue poking out in concentration. "Mommy, look," she said, holding up her picture, 2 stick figures again, but this time with hearts above them. "It's us." I knelt beside her. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." "Do you think Grandma and Grandpa are still mad?" she asked suddenly. I hesitated, choosing my words carefully. "I don't know, baby, but that's not something we have to carry anymore." She nodded, thoughtful, then smiled. "Good, because I like it better when we're happy." That night, after she fell asleep, I sat by her bed and watched her breathe steady, peaceful. The soft glow from the nightlight traced the faint scars on her cheeks like constellations. And for the first time, I didn't see damage. I saw survival. My parents had once said Lily should match her worth. They tried to measure her value in cruelty and control, but she had already proven what they never understood. Worth isn't something given by others, it's something you fight for, something you build from the ashes they leave behind. I kissed her forehead and whispered, "You're my hero too, Lily." Outside, the night was quiet. No sirens, no screams, no broken glass. Just the sound of water lapping gently against the shore, the sound of peace we'd fought so hard to earn. And for the first time in years, I believed it. We weren't victims anymore. We were free.